Hi, Vicky. Okay, I think we are, is Lee Bryan here? I think he might be the only person we're missing. The commissioner we're missing. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. So first, Rachel, could you tell us whether we have quorum? I believe we do.
Yes, we do.
Great, thank you so much. And could you do verification of notice?
Notice has been sent to all of the listservs and posted on our website.
Great, thank you so much. Now, moving to approval of agenda, and I believe, Nancy, you had a motion to amend the agenda?
Yes. If there are no objections, I would like to move up the HBRB application for 3430 34th Street to the second item on the business agenda. It should go very quickly, and I'd like to be able to release the architect. And
That's right. So you're looking to switch 2 and 3?
yes.
Okay. Is there a second?
Yeah, second.
Thank you, Commissioner Reba. So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Raise your hand, please. I'm sorry. It's easier this way. And keep it up. Commissioner Paggett's okay. Commissioner Hoyt, Mr. Siddiqui, Commissioner McWood, Mr. Hurston, and I trust Commissioner Reba's hand is raised as well.
Hey, my hand's raised, but I have poor reception.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Fink.
Me as well.
The agenda is amended, and
Thank you.
great. And so now we, I think what we'll do. Okay, so we've got announcements, and I'm going to ask folks to hold announcements until after Congresswoman Norton has spoken to us, if that's okay. If you're looking to present an announcement this evening, please raise your hand in the chat, or raise your hand. Use that feature. If you click, I believe, participants, you can find that. Okay, Ms. Mitchell. So I will call on you after Congresswoman Norton has spoken, and let's see. We'll hopefully do the same with the community forum. Is there anybody looking to speak during the community forum? Okay, thank you. Well, without further ado, we've been graced with Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton today, who will give us an update and talk to us for a little bit. Ms. Brown, did you want to introduce the Congresswoman, or is that sufficient? Okay, well, we can, I guess, go with the announcements. If Ms. Brown has asked for a second. How are the fellow commissioners doing this fine evening? Anybody make it outside today?
Doing great.
Lee Bryan, I hope you get some Zyrtec or something. Allergies are a bear right now. Okay, let's move to Ms. Mitchell, if that's okay. If you're ready.
Needs to unmute.
There we go.
Hi there, sorry about that. I'm trying to turn my camera on here. Just a second. Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Catherine Mitchell. I'm the director of the Books, which is the short-term family housing program here in Ward 3 on Idaho Avenue Northwest, next to the police station. And I just wanted to pop in and reintroduce myself. It's been a while since I've seen everyone's faces, and just share an announcement that we are looking to plan a community block party that's coming up on June 29th. So lots more information will make the rounds via listservs and so forth. But I just wanted to put the word out there to anyone who might be interested in helping us put on this event. We've had some great support from the community. Lots of community groups have reached out to us wanting to volunteer with us, and this could be a great opportunity to engage folks who are wanting to join us now that things are opening back up again. And we're looking to put on this fun event for both residents of the Brooks, but also the larger community, just to have a good time together and have fun and enjoy the summertime. So I will drop some contact information in the chat in helping us put on this event. We would love to have you, and we'll let you know how you can get in touch with us.
Great, thank you. And then you said June 29th?
June 29th from 3 to 7 p.m.
Great, thank you so much.
I think that should be a Tuesday.
Catherine, a quick question. I'm Julio Murillo. Did you say that what group is your group?
So I'm the director of the Brooks, which is the short-term family housing facility, the family homeless shelter on Idaho Avenue Northwest, but I work for Friendship Place.
Is that the one that's next to the police station?
Yes.
Okay. And you must know Dave DeSantis if you're with Friendship Place.
I've heard the name, but I don't personally know.
Maybe he's not there anymore. Okay, just curious. Thank you.
Thanks.
Great, thank you, Ms. Mitchell. Ms. Brown, it's you and the Congresswoman show.
Hello.
Hello.
Are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, first, let me say what a pleasure it is to be able to speak to ANC3C about my work in the Congress. And I think the first thing I ought to talk with you about is how well we're doing on DC statehood. We passed the bill twice with more than enough co-sponsors, not just votes, but more than enough co-sponsors. Now, passing a major bill like this, and there could be no more major bill, more than once, particularly in this Congress, which hasn't been passing much at all, should not be seen as anything but on our way to where we need to be. What is perhaps most important is the most recent polls showing that 54% of the American people, remember that number because it's going to go up, 54% of the American people now support statehood for the District of Columbia. How did that happen? It's the effect of the hearings and the markup, which told Americans what they did not know. We learned from polls that people were all over the map about DC. Some thought we had the same position in Congress they had. Some thought we didn't or shouldn't, and some just didn't know. The effect of these hearings and markups has been to raise the number of people who support DC statehood. And let me tell you how across the board it is. When you indicate that this isn't just a local issue, swing states, 57% of swing states support DC statehood. The support is across the board. It goes to 58% when you say that there is taxation without representation. Apparently that really gets people to understanding what we need. And that then yields you Blacks and whites, college and educated, and even 42% of Republicans when you say taxation without representation. We don't need to make the case for statehood much more than I do in these hearings, that we pay the highest federal income taxes. You, my constituents, remember this, pay the highest federal income taxes per capita in the United States. That alone ought to entitle you to statehood. You have a budget, we in the District of Columbia, that is higher than that of 12 states. We have in the District of Columbia a higher personal and gross domestic product than any state, and our bond rating is greater than that of 35 states. If you hear those numbers, I think you will see that Americans are finally getting to understand that, if anything, we're overqualified for statehood. I should tell you the latest news, though, because we've just gotten some victories in the House. The House has passed my emergency supplemental bill to respond to the January 6th disturbances. It's a appropriation act geared to that period. Now, the reason that's important is that the district has to put out funds to respond to whatever happens in the District of Columbia, and most of it is federal. While the Republicans were in power, had trouble getting that money. And now the House has passed that money. The bill provides also it also has my bill in it to indicate that there will be no fencing at the Capitol. I've had a bill to say we don't need to fence in our Capitol. That is in this bill today. And my bill that requires the federal police to wear body cameras also passed in this bill. And that's important because, as we see in the district, and many local jurisdictions require their police to wear body cameras or to have body cameras because that eliminates a lot of disputes. It also controls police behavior. Let me go to the American Rescue Act, because the district got all that it asked for. That's the most recent large bill, $2.2 billion. That bill includes especially funding for DC as a city, state, and county level. We were denied that when Republicans took away that money. I got that $755 million that recognizes we provide services at all three levels. The Republicans, when they led on the bill, treated the district as a territory. That's why we lost $755 million, which is now included. The district is always treated as a state. And that's why we were entitled to that money and never treated as a territory, because we do pay federal income taxes. The bill also contains $1,400 per person in supplemental employment benefits. It has rental assistance in it. I should also speak about some of the other bills that have passed in the Congress you may be interested in. Last Congress, I was ranked the most effective Democrat in Congress by the Center for Effective Lawmakers making. They say that ranking is based on the bills you get passed in the House. So I'm trying for that once again. With Democrats now in power, and we're trying to take advantage of the fact that Democrats control the House, the Senate, and the White House. Well, the White House has given me what is called senatorial courtesy. That's the same right judges have to name district court judges and the US attorney. That's very important to have us have a say on who will be the US attorney for the District of Columbia. I have just recommended to the president at least one district court judge and a new US attorney for the District of Columbia. I had to do that on my own. Normally I use a judicial nominating commission, but the White House wanted these two vacancies to be filled immediately. But I will be using my judicial nominating commission for these posts, the judges and the US attorney, excuse me, in the future. My commission consists of residents from every ward. Other things I've been able to get for the Congress is my transportation reauthorization bill is in the reconciliation package, That's for Metro, Amtrak, public transportation, absolutely critical for the District of Columbia, particularly now, as we hope we're all going to get back to regular order. My bill that I have been able to get in now for many years to keep the district open if the federal government closes down was absolutely important. I continue to get it every single appropriation. It was particularly important during the Trump years when there were shutdowns, but the district remained open and was not shut down. We've finally gotten the transfer of 67 acres. That's my bill for 67 acres of federal land on Hill East. That is land that the district can use for housing and other very important matters here in the city. I'm going to be speaking tomorrow on the reopening of the Memorial Bridge. That's my bill. The Memorial Bill is a gateway. It's the largest bill. It's the largest bridge in the district, and it's the gateway to the district from the south into Arlington Cemetery, Lincoln Memorial, and our sites. My bill to allow the Children's Museum to remain in the Ronald Reagan building rent-free has passed the House. That's important to the district because much of our revenue comes from visitors. Many of these museums pay no rent, and I argued that the Children's Museum, although it's not like the Smithsonian, it is a national museum that it too should pay no rent. DC Tag, which may be the most important bill I've passed, which allows any young person to go to college, to any state-supported institution of any kind. Passed again, the bill had the full $40 million I asked for. The Republicans tried to cut it down by $30 million. They were not able to do so. I got that bill passed during a Republican Congress. It has been vital to keeping residents in the District of Columbia when you consider that all you have to do is to go across the river, and each of those jurisdictions have more than 30 colleges and universities. We now have DC residents in state universities in all 50 states. I want to make sure that ANC 3C knows about my virtual committee meetings where I invite the National Park Service. They have been very, very popular because we have national parks in virtually all our wards. So if you have any national parks in your ward, I invite you to invite me to have a National Park Service community meeting in your ward. The Park Service comes, answers questions about your parks. These have been very important to our residents. There's a lot more happening in the Congress, but I think that sums up a lot of what you may want to know at this time. So I'm open for your questions or any comments you may have.
Thank you very much, Congresswoman. First, do any commissioners have any questions?
May I speak? Yes. Congresswoman Norton, thank you very much for being here tonight. Thank you for all that you do for the district, in particular, getting us that funding in the American Rescue Act. We really need that. We'll benefit from it. My question is, I'm really curious who you nominated or who you're supporting for the for U.S. Attorney for the district.
Unfortunately, I can't say the name until the president comes forward with the name. Okay. I have nominated someone for U.S. Attorney, a DC resident. I require that anyone who wants to be nominated for any post in the district live in the district. Mm-hmm. But the president always asks that the announcement come from him, and you should be hearing soon.
Okay, thank you.
Any other commissioners? Well, Congresswoman Norton, thank you so much. We're going to turn it over to the floor in a second, but I did want to ask you about the closure of Rock Creek Park. That has, over the course of the pandemic, has been very helpful to folks looking to get outside and exercise. But you know, with folks coming back to work, it will clearly have an effect on traffic if it's to remain closed. What are your thoughts on that little stretch being closed? And what
stretch are you speaking of?
It's I believe a 4-mile stretch from Broad Branch up to under Military and to where that Park Service.
Why was that closed for work to be done?
No, it was. I believe it was closed for people to exercise during the pandemic. It may have been a continuation of closure from work, but remained closed during the pandemic for recreation.
Well, what I will do is make an inquiry and get back to you specifically so that you can tell the ANC3C when that patch along Broad Branch will be open.
Thank you so much. All right, folks who have joined us this evening, if you have questions for the Congresswoman, please raise your hand in the chat. And then we will ask you to unmute. Okay, if you're having any issues with the...
Well, you can always be in touch with me. You don't have to, you don't have to wait until I come around to your meetings.
It's very true. Thank you so much. Well, thank you, Congresswoman Norton.
Thank you very much for having me. I look forward to being with you again.
Thank you so much.
And we'll get back to you on Broad Branch.
Thank you. Take care. That was a nice change of pace, having the Congresswoman join us this evening. Next up is the consent calendar, but because we approved the agenda, the consent calendar under Robert's rules is automatically approved at that point. So we move on to, so that means if you're here for the HPRB application for 3562 Macomb Street, actually it should say on the consent calendar whether we're supporting it or not. And Commissioner McWood, we're supporting that, is that right? 3562
Yes.
Macomb.
Yes, yes. I don't think anything goes on consent that we don't support, but yes, absolutely, we're supporting it.
Right,
That's
it's
the
just
recommendation.
unclear. Great, thank you. And Rachel, could you make a note of that it was in the consent calendar and was adopted? Thank you. Okay, so moving forward, we are now moving to consideration of a resolution regarding a historic preservation review board application for 3704 35th Street Northwest for a one-story side box bay and one-story rear bay with roofed landing and stairs. Is there a motion?
Like to second it or propose it to move forward?
Okay, you're moving it, Swale?
I am.
Great. Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Packets. Okay, Commissioner Siddiqui, do you want to read your resolution?
Sure. This was presented at the Planning and Zoning Committee meeting. And so commissioners have seen this, and I believe the residents did a really good job of reaching out to neighbors. And as we discussed at the Planning and Zoning Committee meeting, a lot of the issues have been resolved. I made the draft resolution available to the community a week in advance. And so it has been there for the community to see. I have not heard any comments about the particular resolution. And so if it's okay with the other commissioners, I propose that I just read the resolves of the resolution, and then we move to a vote for the resolution without a further presentation at this meeting. Commissioner Finley, would that be okay, or would you like me to ask commissioners?
Fellow commissioners, is there any objection to what Commissioner Siddiqui just proposed?
Nope.
Okay, Commissioner Siddiqui, please proceed with the resolve clauses.
Great, and I realized, Commissioner Finley, that we wouldn't get to this so quickly, so give me 1 second and I will just pull it up, if that's okay.
I've pasted a link to the resolution in the chat. Anybody's
Thank you, Commissioner Finley. Okay, so I'm ready to read the resolution resolve statements. Be it resolved that ANC3C supports the additions and changes outlined in the application, and be it resolved that the ANC authorizes the chair and the commissioner of 3C05 to represent the commission on this matter.
Great. Commissioners, is there any discussion or questions for Commissioner Siddiqui? And Commissioner Siddiqui, is the applicant here this evening? Just out of curiosity.
We are.
Yes,
we're here.
Yes.
Yes, Jessica and David.
Thank you so much. So, fellow commissioners, do you have any questions or discussion? Otherwise, we'll move to a vote. Don't all speak at once.
Commissioner Finley, I would also, once the commissioners are done, it'd be great to just give the community a chance if someone has something to say.
Okay, good point. Thank you. All right, seeing no discussion from fellow commissioners, is there anybody who has joined the meeting who would like to ask any questions? Okay, and if you're, I'm not sure I'm going to get this right. If you click on reactions at the bottom, there's a little toolbar. If you want to raise your hand, you can click reactions and then choose the raise hand feature. So if you're having issues, do that. And if you are unable to figure that out, please click the chat button and let us know in the chat that you would like to speak. So, all right, seeing no one from the public who wishes to comment, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of Commissioner Siddiqui's resolution, please raise your hand. Let's see. Commissioner Reba. I see Commissioner Siddiqui, Commissioner Hoyt, Commissioner McWood, Commissioner Paggett, Commissioner Boucher, Commissioner Fink, and Commissioner Gersten, and myself.
Yeah, I have my thumb up.
Oh, great. A thumbs up. That works too. Thank you, Commissioner Reba. Sorry, I missed that. Okay. So thank you all. The resolution passes unanimously. And so now we move to the consideration of a resolution regarding a historic preservation review board application for 3430 34th Street Northwest for a one-story side bay addition with expanded deck behind and rebuilt garage.
Okay, this is in my SMD, similar to the previous application that we just approved. This concept was presented at the Planning and Zoning Committee meeting earlier this month. The neighbors have been notified, shown the plans. I've heard from several of the neighbors that they have no objections. I've heard from no one that they do have any objections. Also, the Architectural Review Committee of the Cleveland Park Historical Society reviewed this application, this project, and unanimously are supporting it. So perhaps in the spirit of what Commissioner Siddiqui did, if there are no neighbors or people in the audience who wanted to speak about this particular application, I could just move. The architect is on the call tonight, Alan Field, but we could avoid the presentation since we've already done that at the Planning and Zoning. Don't appear to be any issues, and I could just move the resolution, the draft resolution.
Just the resolve clauses or the whole thing?
Well, it's very short, so I would just do the whole thing.
Great. Okay. Is there any?
Is that all right?
I don't see anybody from the community raising their hand. Again, click reactions and then raise hand button. But it looks like we're in the clear for that, Commissioner McWood.
Okay, good. No surprises like that. Well, this is very short. Whereas the owners of 3430 34th Street, which is a conjoining property in the Cleveland Park Historic District, have filed for concept approval to build a one-story side addition. And whereas the proposed addition will be set back approximately 11 feet from the front facade of the 1920 house and would project 6 feet 6 inches from the side wall and be covered with a low-profile sloping roof. And whereas the proposed addition would have access to a new open rear deck that would extend to and adjoin the existing rear open porch, which is proposed to be enclosed. And whereas except for completing the rear corner, the rear footprint of the house would remain unchanged. And whereas the existing garage, which is in poor condition, would be replaced with a one-story garage, 23 feet, 11 inches by 15 feet, which is slightly wider and slightly less deep than the existing garage. And whereas the proposal includes replacing the window trim and shingles, which are in poor condition, with materials and styles that replicate the existing trim and shingles. And whereas the adjoining neighbors have seen the plans and have not raised objections, be it resolved that ANC3C supports the proposal, and be it further resolved that the chair and the commissioner for SMD 3C09 are authorized to represent the commission on this matter. I move the resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
Great. Okay, commissioners, discussion? Well, okay, and community, is there anybody in the community? I'll ask once again. If you would like to be heard, please click reactions and then raise hand, and we'll ask you to unmute. Okay. With no commentary, we're moving to a vote. And all those in favor of Commissioner McWood's resolution, please raise your hand. And two. Commissioner Boucher and Commissioner Gersten. Okay, all those. Okay, great. Sorry, I think I froze. Looks like it is again unanimous. Oh, Commissioner Fink, sorry. Are you? Great. Okay, it is unanimous. Thank you very much, commissioners. And this next resolution, Commissioner Reba, did you want to introduce Commissioner McWood or myself to raise or to read your resolution, or would you like us to just plow through and move it?
We can move to a vote. I'm going to go ahead and at least introduce it. If we have to read the entire resolution, I'm going to lean on yourself or Commissioner McWood. Please forgive me as my allergies are in full swing. 2735 Connecticut Avenue is up for redevelopment. 2735 Connecticut LLC filed an HPRB application for conceptual design review to renovate, modernize, and expand the residential building, which includes the partial demolition of the rear bay and deck, and the interior and exterior renovation of an existing 3-story row house, basement excavation, and the construction of an additional 4 floors in the rear. Upon completion of this development, the project will include 2 apartments on each floor and will include a rooftop addition. I'd like to go ahead and have the developer at this time, Julio Morello, and his architect present the plans, and then we can move to a vote. I will say currently, the presentation you're about to hear has been presented to myself, HPO staff, and the zoning administrator, the Woodley Park Place Condominium Association to the north, the homeowners located at 2733 Connecticut Avenue to the south, and the homeowners to the rear on Woodley Place, the Woodley Park Community Association, and was just presented at 3C's public space and zoning meeting. Everything included in this resolution has been discussed with all parties, including the developer. This resolution really just memorializes the conversations over the last 9 months. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reba. So you would like us to hear the presentation that we heard at Planning and Zoning 2 weeks ago?
I would say that if there's anybody in the audience joining us this evening that hasn't or wishes to see the plans, then either, as you have shared before, go to reactions or go to the chat and identify. Otherwise, I don't believe we need to hear the plans. I just want to be respectful and mindful of anybody in the audience that hasn't seen the plans, heard the plans, or wanted to know more about the development.
Okay, so pursuant to that, folks, you heard Commissioner Reba. If there's anybody who would like to see the presentation, who did not catch it at Planning and Zoning or is otherwise unfamiliar with it, or would like to see it again, please click reactions and choose raise your hand or say something in the chat. And while we're waiting on that, because we can, I guess, move the resolution forward.
Would
Is
you?
that okay with you?
Well, I'd
Okay.
like, yes, and I'd like to follow suit of my colleagues to go ahead and just read the resolves of the resolution.
Sure thing. And Commissioner Reba, I can do that if you'd like.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Okay. A resolution regarding a conceptual design review for 2735 Connecticut Avenue for HPRB review. Therefore, be it resolved, ANC 3C supports 2735 Connecticut Avenue LLC's HPRB conceptual design review for renovation, a rooftop addition, and a 4-floor rear addition to a 3-story row house in the Woodley Park Historic District for conversion to apartments and/or condominiums. Be it further resolved, ANC 3C has considered all concerns and questions raised by the above constituencies and community stakeholders and is satisfied that the applicant to date has sufficiently addressed all concerns and questions. However, has some concerns regarding the side setback since it will affect the use of the contributing building. Be it further resolved, ANC3C urges HPRB to request a more refined design, including a list of materials for the enclosure during the concept design phase, and supports the request for a shadow study to demonstrate any impact on the contributing residences to the south and east of the site. Be it further resolved, ANC3C urges 2735 Connecticut LLC to continue to work with the Woodley Place Condominium Association, homeowners located at 2733 Connecticut Avenue, adjacent neighbors to the rear, Commissioner Lee Brian Reba, Woodley Park Community Association, and DC government stakeholders throughout the process to ensure community engagement, timely notification, and updates. And be it further resolved, while not in the purview of HPRB, 2735 Connecticut LLC has agreed to hold a community meeting prior to the development of the DDOT traffic control plan to engage feedback and any potential concerns regarding blocking the alley, flow of traffic, and potentially preventing residents from entering or exiting their homes in the rear. Be it further resolved that the chair, commissioner for 3C01, and or their designees are authorized to represent ANC 3C on this matter. I will take that as Lee Bryan's motion. And is there a second?
Second.
Okay, great. Commissioner Reba, I really hope you feel better soon. Okay, so going back, is there any commissioner discussion of this resolution? Nancy, you're muted.
Okay, sorry about that. I just have a couple questions for Mr. Murillo. Mr. Murillo, as I'm sure you're aware, in the results section, there is some question, I believe, in the third resolve about a list of materials for the enclosure and a shadow study. And those were things I believe that several groups of the neighbors requested. Can you tell us what status is of those things? Has the enclosure been further designed since we saw it at the planning and zoning? And is there a shadow study that could be undertaken?
Yes, good evening. I believe you're referring to the cladding materials for the building, is that correct?
As I recall, I mean, Commissioner Reba can correct me, but I think it has to do with the penthouse, the mechanicals on the rooftop.
I'll just, there.
Unmute, Lee Brent, there you go.
I had my thumb up, yes.
Okay. No, we have not furthered the design development of a project to include the selection of materials for the enclosure, but we can do that as a next step. Regarding a shadow study, I believe that came up once or twice during our presentations. And if I'm not mistaken, the views from Woodley Place were of concern. I went over there to try to do a sightline diagram to see if you could see any part of the building from Woodley Place, and I couldn't see it. Nonetheless, I'm assuming that the shadow study is the result of concerns over the shadows that might be cast over the rear of the properties at Woodley Place. Mm-hmm. So Jeff is online here. I think we've talked about this. I don't know if we've started anything like that, but we can. Jeff, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think it's going to be a similar situation of a project we just had in Foggy Bottom. I think the adjacent building is going to cast the larger shadow, and our building will actually fall within that shadow, but we can provide those shadow studies if that's what the commission and the public is requesting. But the adjacent building, at a certain time is going to cast a much larger shadow than our addition. So our shadow will be inside that shadow. So, but we can provide those.
That'd be
So
great.
it clearly, yeah, so it clearly shows that our shadow isn't making anything worse. We're just going inside another shadow.
Got it. Thank you. And Mr.
You're
Morello, what about the design of the mechanical enclosure on the roof?
Again, I'm going to defer to Jeff Goings. I think typically with respect to the mechanical enclosure, we're talking about the 9 mechanical or HVAC units that are on the rooftop, correct? Is that
Correct.
And yeah, and we had talked about doing a fence, building a fence to screen those. Now, I don't believe you can see those mechanical units from anywhere on ground level, but so I guess we'd have to decide the height of that screen, and I would assume that the purpose of it is more to isolate the sound more than the visual.
But
So,
this, if I may,
correct?
this also stemmed from depending on the location of the mechanical penthouse. That's why so many times the question came up, the positioning, because if the mechanical penthouse was to the north of the development, it would be outside those residence windows, versus if it was to the south, it would be further away and it wouldn't be visible from their units.
Right. As they currently are designed, they're on the south side of the roof. I don't believe we've changed that since the last presentation.
No, I'm just sharing where that conversation came from and how it migrated to the resolution. That's all.
That's it. Okay. Jeff, just a quick question for you. I'm assuming, based on what I can see on the plan, that this space is probably larger than it shows here, just given the size of the mechanical units. But in a typical open air mechanical space like this, how high would you want the walls to be, the fence to be?
I mean, these units are not very tall. So, I mean, I think 4 feet, that will be completely screened. But like you said, they will not be seen from the public at all. I mean, they're set back 25 feet. So you would not be able to see them from the sidewalk or the street. So, I mean, we can screen them.
Would it be possible to put a lattice on the roof to screen the view from the top?
There has to be a certain amount of fresh air, airflow. So yeah, we can, but they're probably going to be 2 feet apart.
Okay.
So it's not going to be completely covered.
So we should
probably, in our perspective,
I think two things we need to do. I'm sorry.
If we covered it, we would have to condition it and have an additional unit and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, we don't want to cover it completely.
No, we're not. The residents were never looking for it to be concealed, like in a garage. It was so they would not be visible when looking out their dining room windows, since this is an abutting property, to look out your window to you.
Well, you know, one of the things, Commissioner Brian, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Maybe one of the things that we could do is kind of come up with an interesting, like a canopy, one of those interesting things that we could put up. We can look at a couple of different options, but I certainly think covering it's probably not going to help, because then you're adding a structure up there. But and if you did a trellis, like maybe we could look at a trellis versus maybe a canvas of some type. They kind of have some kind of artistic look to it.
No,
you've seen them in the backyard.
One
of those
canopies. It probably wouldn't need to be blocked from the south or from the top, but certainly perhaps to the rear and to the north. So it'd be like an L-shaped frame.
Okay.
We would just have to build, I think we would have to build the fence tall enough that it would visually be obstructed from side windows. Is that what you're saying, Lee Brian?
Correct, correct. Just so
Okay.
it wouldn't be visible outside these individuals' living rooms and bedrooms. I think everyone would agree it's probably not a look that they would prefer. They know the building's going to be built. It's not something they're going to be used to since they've been used to air and light. But since it is being built, they would just like something, as you said, Jeff, and thank you for using the word artistic, but something to that nature to just give it a better look and feel when looking out one's living room, dining room, or bedroom.
And I would just like to add that we need to explore the possibility of putting some of those units maybe in the back, in the parking area, maybe off the wall or on the ground, just to minimize their footprint on the roof. We should look into that option as well. But again, this is all stuff that happens during design development, which now we are aware of and we will make provisions for.
Thank you. I appreciate the additional information. I just wanted to, since it's in the resolve section of the resolution, I just wanted to get your feedback on what status is both of those items which have been raised by the community. So thank you. I appreciate the discussion.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner McWood. And Julio, if I may, just to reiterate, that resolve section of the resolution does indicate to figure this out during the concept design phase.
Okay.
It wasn't anything immediate. It was just when you got to that stage.
Right. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Do any other commissioners have any questions? Okay. We've got a question from Ms. Stuppy, Christine Stuppy. And, Christine, I'm going to ask you. Oh, you're unmuted already. Great. I'll go ahead.
I just wanted to ask Commissioner Reba if he had received the proposed changes to the resolution that were, I believe, sent forward from Mariah McPherson today.
Yes, I did. Thank you.
And will they be incorporated?
They are incorporated. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Now we move to a vote. Unless there's any further discussion by commissioners. Or actually, let me double check and make sure there's nobody who's viewing this meeting who's come to say something about this. Is there anybody who would like to say something? Speak now or hold your peace until the HPRB review. Click the reactions button and choose raise hand. When I see you raise your hand, I'll call on you and ask you to unmute. Seeing nobody? Okay. Move to a vote. Commissioners, please raise your hand if you support this resolution as presented. Keep your hand up so I can count you. Okay. Great. All those opposed? I don't think there are any opposed because Commissioners Siddiqui, Hoyt, and Reba all had their hands raised in support. Great. So the resolution passes unanimously. Congratulations, Commissioner Reba, and congratulations to the applicant. And there's a next on our agenda, at least on the public agenda, is a presentation by DDOT. That will actually be happening at the June meeting. We moved it to the June meeting, but I neglected to tell our assistant to move it to the June meeting because we had the Congresswoman this evening. So that wraps up commission business, and now we move to other business. Commissioner Reba, I understand you may wish to postpone presenting the secretary's report, and I totally understand that, but it's, do you have the secretary's report for this month?
I would just like to go ahead and move the minutes from our April 19th meeting.
Like a second?
All those in favor? Please raise your hand and keep it up.
Oh, I still had a question on that I don't think was answered in the emails
Okay.
about if the abstention needs to be recorded. I understand it's not yays and nays, but I think the abstention goes into the minutes, right?
The abstention only goes into the minutes when it's individual commissioner, when there's a roll call vote. When it's a voice vote, abstentions are not noted.
That's correct. And Commissioner Pagets, roll call votes can be asked for by any commissioner for any vote. In the Zoom world, every vote looks like a roll call vote in a lot of ways, but without the procedural request, it is considered a voice vote. Okay, are there any other questions about the minutes before we vote on them? Okay.
I would just real quick want to ask Commissioner McWood, were your comments duly noted in these minutes? Because I know that we emailed back and forth, and I just want to make sure that your notes were captured accurately.
Yes, thank you for asking the question. Yes, I believe that they were.
There were a lot of friendlies presented, declined, presented, approved, another speaker. Just want to make sure we got it right.
Yeah, it looks right to me.
Thank you.
Just a point of order: when an amendment is proposed and declined, it is not a friendly amendment. An amendment is only a friendly amendment when it is accepted. I mean, it can be proposed in the most friendly terms, but it is only a friendly amendment if it is accepted by the reader of the motion.
Correct.
So there's in the minutes, there's a reference to friendly amendment, which the friendly should be deleted, but it's not the end of the world if it remains in there.
Okay. Can we have a conversation offline to correct that? Because the first one was friendly, it wasn't accepted. So are you saying that if a friendly amendment was presented and it was declined, it's not a friendly then?
Yes, that's correct. So an amendment is presented, and if it's accepted, it is a friendly amendment. If it's rejected, it is not a friendly amendment.
Yeah, and then
Despite all the
I notated all that. I just added that she changed it to an actual amendment after it no longer became a friendly amendment. So that's in there.
Great. Okay. So
Thank you.
all those in favor of the minutes, raise your hand. Okay, got 1, 2, 3, 4. Commissioner Fink. Oh, okay. All those, first of all those opposed? All those abstaining? Okay. Commissioner Fink. What was your, are you supporting, opposing, or abstaining? Okay.
Supporting.
And Rachel, it's a voice vote, so we don't, but there was one abstention. Great. Okay. Thank you. And let's see, do we have a treasurer's report, Commissioner Siddiqui?
Yes, so I know at the previous meeting I had asked to present for a vote the fiscal year 2021 first quarterly report, quarterly financial report. However, I was informed by OANC about 8 hours before the meeting that there was something wrong with the spreadsheet. So I've corrected that now, and I resubmitted the QFR, the first quarterly report for fiscal year 2021 to the commissioners so we can advance. I didn't hear any comments back. I submitted the documentation too. That was actually put together by Commissioner Boucher. Thank you, Commissioner Boucher. And so I would like to move the first quarterly financial report for fiscal year 2021 to a vote if there are no further comments.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Boucher. Okay, are there any questions for Commissioner Siddiqui or Commissioner Boucher, who helped?
I will answer the questions. Commissioner Boucher is relieved of her duties.
Any questions for Commissioner Siddiqui? Okay, hearing none, move to a vote. All those in favor of the treasurer's report as submitted to us, please raise your hand. All those, well, all those opposed? Okay, all those abstaining? It was unanimous, so moving on. We have, let's see, single member district reports. Commissioner Reba, would you like to start us off?
No, I'm going to pass till for June. Thank you.
Understand. Thank you, Commissioner Reba. Commissioner Fink.
Just one thing, just to let you guys know, remind you that the zoo is reopening May 21st. So get excited. You can see the pandas, the lions, the tigers. And I believe you might not have to wear a mask also anymore at the zoo, but it's up to you, of course. Yeah, come see the zoo in Woodley Park and shop and dine at our restaurants. And that's all I got.
Thank you, Commissioner Fink. Commissioner Baggett.
So with the opening of the zoo, the 7-Eleven across the street closed down. So DeAndre from Woodley Park Main Street was going to meet with the landlord over there and figure out what's the story with, some of the empty spaces. Additionally, I think next month we should look to have a representative from MPD on this meeting to answer some questions. There seems to be an uptick in crimes, especially being held up by gunpoint. I know that there was a carjacking in front of my building, which they did, use part of we signed up for the security camera program. So they were able to get some footage off of that. That was pretty clear. And I was very impressed with the quality of our security cameras, but we are always looking to not have to use them in this way. So I think we should definitely get somebody, because I know it's not just my SMD. I know it's affecting a number of the SMDs and 3Cs. So it would be great if we could get somebody to give us a report and answer some questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Baggett.
Yeah, let's all go back to the zoo. Just don't drive, ride a bike, walk.
So I'll give a quick update from ANC 3C04. We have a new business in town where Wake Up Little Susie used to be. It is a place now, it's Femme Fatale, and it is a really cool shop that I recommend everybody check out. I'll throw a link in. It is sort of they dub themselves grassroots retail, which is a really interesting concept. It's sort of almost like an artistic collective in a way. I recommend everybody swing by, and don't forget to stop by other shops in 3C04 and maybe get dinner or lunch. So thank you. Commissioner Siddiqui, 3C05.
Yeah, so one follow-up from the previous meeting when I had mentioned the overflowing trash bins behind the 3500 block of Connecticut Avenue. We're still working with that issue. They seem to be getting worse. Every Sunday, basically, they're overflowing. We've been trying to reach the property manager. They don't seem to be responding. We're working with Mary Chay's office on this. Although it seems like there's nothing anyone can do. These overflowing sort of bins behind 3500 Connecticut Avenue, they're really bad on Sunday. They get cleaned up on Monday. There are sort of inspectors from DC government showing up and writing citations. However, it seems that the property managers are unperturbed. So I'll continue to work with that through Mary Chay's office as well to try and figure out the best resolution for this. So that's one issue happening in 3C05. The other one that I've heard a lot about from two separate roads, which Commissioner Rookwood, if you want to talk about one of them, that's also perfectly fine. is that heard a lot about as traffic is increasing and as slow streets are going away, there's been a lot of speeding cars through the neighborhood. So one in particular is Rodman Street Northwest, and I will actually be presenting a resolution to try and do a traffic study on Rodman Street Northwest for trying to see if we can install some traffic calming measures along that street, because there's a lot of little kids who live along that street, but regardless, there have been a lot of cars speeding across it because there's no left turn allowed on Porter from Connecticut, so a lot of cars have been going up Rodman. The other one is at an intersection with Commissioner McWood's district on 34th and Newark Street. That intersection has been a problem for a long time, as Commissioner McWood also made me aware. So we're gonna try and see if we can do something about that one as well. Yeah, those are the main updates from 3C05.
Thank you, Commissioner Siddiqui. Commissioner Hoyt, do you have any updates?
Oh, I'm unmuted.
Oh.
Yes, a couple of things. John Eaton School is the construction modernization of John Eaton is clicking along. They have requested DCPS as well as DGS have been requesting to work on holidays, which after consulting with the neighbors, I have supported. Also, there was a request to add an additional work shift from 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. for several months. I believe it's already started, but it was to start in May and continue until the end of July. Again, after consulting with neighbors and getting more information about what the quality of the construction would be, how noisy it might be, parking issues, traffic issues, a number of concerns, getting those resolved. We have supported having an additional shift, and that should, so there will be some overlap of 2 shifts from 1 o'clock in the afternoon to 7, and then the second shift will continue on until 9 p.m. And that should ensure that the school will open on time, which everyone in the community wants to see happen, and people are putting up with whatever inconveniences or disruptions occur with construction in order to make sure that that happens. I've had a number of requests for some help with GCRA. I got a request as early as today, or as late as today, about construction permits at a home. Nothing particularly elaborate, but they've been languishing and they're trying to get them approved. I've also had a number of requests for construction inspections. And those have been filled, and a number of requests for tree protection at construction sites, which UFA, the Urban Forestry Administration, has been very, very helpful with that as well. And Commissioner Siddiqui mentioned about the request for additional safety enhancements at the intersection of 34th and Newark Street. This is an ongoing problem. I had some very serious and strong requests several years ago after a near accident at that intersection. DDOT eventually sent out an inspector to look at the site. Unfortunately, no one was notified when that was going to occur, so we couldn't be there. But the determination was that the intersection is safe. So I'm very pleased that Commissioner Siddiqui is going to join me in trying to get some new assistance and evaluation of that intersection. At the same time, DDOT along with DCPS have done some walkarounds of the neighborhood as part of the Safe Routes to School program, which John Eaton is one of 8 schools in the district that is part of the Safe Routes to School. program, and there should be, it's premature at this point, but there should be some traffic calming suggestions, recommendations that will be made that I can report about later. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner McWood. Commissioner Hoyt?
Yes, since the last time that we all met, we've had a new business open up in single member district 3C06. Matchbox Cathedral Commons is now open. They serve traditional American cuisine. Some of you may be familiar with their other locations throughout the DMV. They're located on Newark Street, in fact, at 3701 Newark Street Northwest. They offer parking validation for those who need it in the giant parking garage. And if you've not already done so, I encourage you to visit. That's all for me.
Thank you, Commissioner Hoyt. Commissioner Boucher?
A couple of things. Another issue on Newark I've mentioned to Commissioner McWood many times over the last years because of an issue at Wisconsin and Newark coming from my SMD into Commissioner McWood's SMD, turning right at the light onto Wisconsin. There used to be a no turn on right on red sign, but instead of being on the right traffic light, there's two traffic lights there. It was on the left traffic light, so people missed it. Now all of a sudden it's completely gone. So people are turning right there, but that's a crosswalk. And I've seen some near accidents in the last couple weeks. So I hope that they put another sign. I don't know why that one was removed. I don't know if Commissioner McWood does. But it's technically your SMD, not mine, even though it impacts my side of the street and Commissioner Hoyt's other side of the street.
Yeah. I went to the intersection actually a couple of weeks ago, and I saw no right turn on red at each one of the at each corner, at each one of the intersections. So maybe it's just where it is placed is the issue. I mean, we can talk about this more offline.
It's gone.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Okay.
Shouldn't
be. There's supposed to be no right turn on red in all directions at that intersection.
Okay.
So we'll talk about it.
There's a couple other traffic calming issues that a resolution that we passed 2 years ago that wasn't submitted correctly to public space from our former administrator. It was filed or submitted incorrectly to the wrong agency. And so there were issues and I'm just laying it out there because it's going to come back. Putting it through, it was unanimously approved to put a traffic camera at the intersection of Massachusetts and Macomb to alleviate traffic coming down Mass and making a sweeping left turn onto Macomb. We greatly achieved getting a hawk signal put there, which has been excellent, but the traffic really, it just picks up on that street. So looking at either joint resolutions with other ANCs, I may bring it back to us with some different language to try to introduce it again, or I don't know if you all have ideas that would be helpful. But also the RPP for 3800 and 3900 block of Mass Ave is an issue that continues to come up, and the city is reluctant to move on issuing RPP due to the fact that there is rush hour restrictions on one side of the street or the other, even though these are the only two blocks within the blocks on the opposite sides of the street, and one block to the left and one block to the right all have RPP. So that is something that I'm working on what else? Did give feedback. There was an issue with a slow street between Cathedral and Massachusetts on Idaho on the one-way street. And another SMD wanted to remove that since it bordered my SMD. There was a problem with trucks and access to the buildings. That was approved to be removed recently. I think, oh, no, one more thing. I'm working with a few businesses in my SMD on signage and structures that are in public space that shouldn't be in public space. But I'm working with them individually. Once things have settled, I'll tell you more about what those were, because everyone is cooperating and on track. That's it. I'm so
Great,
tired.
thank you, Commissioner Boucher. Commissioner
Late
Gersten,
meetings are hard for me.
Yes. So in 3C08, as anyone who has driven on 36th Street may have noticed, between Fulton and Davis, there was a huge defect on that street that was so large that it would cut into the undercarriage of cars. It was about a foot deep, and it was unclear whether that defect was coming from a water source. The road had been milled and repaved a few times, and DDOT has finally come out again and assured us that they have fixed the problem. Also on that same stretch of road, there had been a sinkhole type structure in one of the gutters that was quite large, and that has also been repaired. So I'm happy to report these hazards have been corrected and repaired, and that's all I have.
Great, thank you, Commissioner Gersten. We are now at that part of the evening where if there is a motion to adjourn, that will be heard.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Gersten. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Hoyt. Okay, all those in favor of adjourning our May meeting, please raise your hand or say aye. Well, we've got a majority. All those opposed? Okay. Me abstaining. All right, so motion passes. Thank you all so much for a wonderful meeting, and thank you, Congresswoman Norton. I'm sure she's gone by now, but thank you for coming. And thank you all for joining us this evening, and see you in June.
Thanks, everyone.
You take care.